Sometimes in life it might happen that some people lose meaning about their career, about what they do for a living, and they might not know anymore which path they should pursue or not. On top of that, you may have had some difficult encounters with toxic people at the job you have or in the career you have, and that may have caused some hardships or bad memories that may confuse you about, do I really want to pursue this thing, that thing, and I'm not sure what I want anymore. Basically, when there are too many factors to take care of, it might be more difficult to identify what is still the right path for you and what you have been doing just out of habit, but that is no longer fulfilling for you and that you need to stop. So we are going to dive into 3 different NLP techniques or principles that will definitely help you to get more clear and identify what is right now the right path for your career and what is to be dismissed because it is no longer important or useful for you. The first one will be an echo to the old principle, the map is not the territory, and sometimes people don't even know their own internal map. By this I mean that when you want to change your career or adapt your career in some point, in some way, you first need to map your current skill set and skill level with the things you want to do. Because usually we ask people, so what it is that you want? And most people don't really know what they want, or they censor themselves because even before elaborating on that, they will have a negative voice in their head telling them, well, not even possible, so don't think about that. However, you can start from where you are and advance one step at a time. Before going there, mapping your skill set will have thread obviously to the pyramid of logical levels from deals, where you notice which capabilities do you already have, and starting from there. I tend to believe that in the current market economy, starting only from what you want might not be the best advice for everyone. It might be the best advice for somebody who's just 16 years old and has time, but that person may not have enough experience of life to figure out, to know what they want. On the opposite, for somebody who already is advanced in their career or has had like 10 years or 20 years in the build-up, that person may have some financial pressure or some responsibilities that will not really make it possible for them to just quit everything and spend another 5 years of figuring out what they want. I wouldn't say that is the best option here. So starting from what you can already do pretty well, the things people have already told you that you were quite competent at this, or at least you have already been able to help others in that field. What is that one skill you, or set of skills you already have that have been at some point in demand? Doesn't mean everyone wants to learn that from you, but at least something that you have noticed there was some people requiring helpful tips about this, and this is a skill that you actually have. That might be something you think is just irrelevant because it is so simple for you. That is where you start, from the things that are simple for you and not simple for everyone around. And then once you have identified those skills you already have, the things you're already good at, then we can go back into, okay, what do you really want? But I would still recommend to start from what you can already do and then going into what you want, instead of starting by what is my dream life, which is so abstract that no one really has a clear answer to this. It's always like brief points of, oh, I want to be happy. Yeah, like everybody. But what specifically do you want? That is more difficult to identify and that might change down the road. However, a career, if you want to make it in the high levels, that needs to compound over 5 years, 10 years. Something you just do out of curiosity may not last 5 or 10 years. And sometimes you may just get bored of it, but something you're already really good at is easier to do, even if you get sometimes bored of it, than something you always have to challenge yourself because it is still so difficult for you. Start from what you can already do and build up slowly toward eventually some dream vision you have. So the first technique was about identifying your current skills on the logical levels of thinking. What are the capabilities you already have, the things you are already good at. Then the second step or technique will relate to anchoring, nothing big new here, but anchoring a positive state or a positive learning state for the other skill sets you still miss. Basically, when you want to change your career or adapt it so that you get more fulfillment even where you are right now, that will usually require new skills. You already have the skills the skills you're already good at, and then to get a dream life you don't have yet, that is probably related to other skills you don't have, or other skills that may be related and that you have started to develop, but you're not an expert yet at those. Therefore, once you have identified the core, the recipe of what you're already good at, then from there to your dream life, let's say, to stay general, your dream career, what are the skills you don't have yet? Or like the one skill you don't have yet. If your biggest problem right now is that you are, I don't know, like a computer engineer and you like your job, it is stimulating, you have a ton of creative stuff to do, really great, but you can't handle toxic relationships at work and that is draining your energy. Because on top of that, you might be an introvert and that is difficult to handle that. Okay, the one skill you miss to finally get your dream career might just be doing what you do right now without the toxic people or while being able to handle them. For example, somebody like me who specializes in communication, handling toxic people, that is the easiest thing ever for me. That is not the easiest thing ever for everyone. Therefore, you can develop that skill. And between where you are right now and your dream career, that might be just a slight micro, very simple skill you need to develop. But which one is it? Which one you don't have yet that would make your life and your career so much easier if you finally had that one skill? And therefore, I talked about positive anchor for learning, because whenever we think about new things to learn, especially for people who are like 40 years old, around that area, they might be trapped into thinking that it is too late. They don't have time anymore because they have this to do and that to do. They just don't have time to learn something new from scratch. First of all, if you are here watching this, that means you have enough motivation to learn. Otherwise, you would not even have taken the time to watch this video up to here. Secondly, you can always develop new skills faster if you are in the right learning state. Richard Bandler explained at some point that learning was only a matter of firing off a positive learning state, or let's say a positive resource being in some enjoyable state at the moment you want to learn something. Because when you are into an enjoyable state, the kind of state you might have been into when your children were born, or when you have spent a great day with your girlfriend, whatever, when you can fire off that kind of positive memories or positive expectations as you are about to practice or learn the new skill you have to develop, then you won't have as many judgments and as many negative remarks about you're not good enough, you won't be able to. Quite often what limits us is not the lack of time or the lack of people to help us, it is just the negative judgments, the negative expectations. I can't succeed at this because people just don't listen to me, I'm just a piece of shit. Okay, all those negative expectations, all those rumination, those are what slow you down the most, much more than anything else, and those are what prevent you from reaching the next step in whatever skill you want to develop. So installing some positive anchor for joyful learning, it's not about forcing yourself, it is about joyful learning. What has been an experience where you didn't care about the outcome because you were just having such a great time? What was such an experience in your life? It might have been with your friends, it might have been when you were in full flow during some athletic performance. Whatever happened, there has been at least one moment in your life where you have been so delighted about the experience itself that you didn't even care anymore about winning or losing, about who was going to judge you. You just didn't care anymore. If you can remember positively or strongly that experience and anchor that one, and if you don't know how to anchor something, just check on my channel. You will have a ton of videos to figure out how to use anchoring with NLP. Once you can anchor that positive experience, then it might become quite easy to simply fire that anchor every time you want to practice that new skill. Let's say what is missing for you right now is you just need to learn a new language because, well, if you watch this, you speak English already or you understand. But let's say for somebody who knows their dream career is into a foreign country and they have to know English, to speak English. they can't right now, and they need to learn to speak English. And what limits most people when learning a new language is specifically negative judgments. Oh, I don't speak well enough. If I try to speak, people will laugh at me. Oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not fluent enough to get people to understand me. I know in my head, but I can't. Same thing, negative judgments again and again and again and again. So firing off a positive encore for joyful state while you are about to learn will first of all reduce the amount of time you need to finally master that one skill you miss, and it will accelerate because you won't judge yourself as much in the process of acquiring that one new skill you need to reach your dream career. And finally, step number 3 will be about going more assertively toward what you want by using some role model. Going back to the roots of NLP modeling, obviously you know about that. Basically, when we think about identifying to some role model, we can use, for example, right here, submodalities and perceptual positions. As a matter of fact, in the book Deep Trance Identification, which to me is the best book on modeling ever, in that book they talk a lot about perceptual positions and how do you get your mind into another position somewhere so that you identify with the person you would like to acquire the skills of. That might be as simple as just visualizing somebody, a role model in front of you, somebody you would like to pick some skills from, let's say Tony Robbins, motivating yourself like Tony Robbins, usually a pretty easy one to identify as a resource. You imagine Tony Robbins in front of you and you make a step on the ground so that you get inside the body and mind visually of Tony Robbins so that you notice what is changing in your perception when you are in that position. That is the basis of perceptual positions, and usually in coaching I do this just by visualization. I just guide people in their mind while they close their eyes to what would it look like to have Tony Robbins or anybody they mention in front of you, noticing how they behave, what they look like, how do they speak, and then making them identify as if they were that person, and noticing what that person see or think about or feel when they are doing their job. That is the basis of this technique. And the submodalities, because we are going to add a twist to this. Basically, in a sense, you just take in your imagination, in your memory, in your mind's eye, you take the one person that you know is the most assertive you have ever seen in their career. By assertive, we mean somebody who literally does not know what excuses are. Who is that one person you can think about right now, either somebody you know or somebody you have seen only on video, somebody that you know is going extremely assertively toward the career they want or toward the financial, let's say, level they want or even life setup they want. Who is that one person who's the most dedicated, committed to make that happen? Another big problem, people who are not committed and just quit after one failure or because they get discouraged. Who is on the reverse? That one person you know of who's so dedicated and committed that they just never stop. In the right way, obviously, somebody who can still have some balance of life. Who is that one person for you? Once you have identified that one role model, you are going to project that person doing the thing they are so good at. And imagine themselves during a moment where they are into that extremely focused state where they go so assertively about after the career or after the life they really want. You notice what they look like when they are in that moment. Maybe they are at their office, maybe they are discussing with other people, and at that specific moment, what do they look like? Also, with therefore submodalities, in your mind's eye, how do you picture this? If you had a way to stop that picture for a moment, make pause and notice what does it look like? Do you see bright colors when you look at that person? Do you see just a shady picture far away from you? Do you see something really enlightening? What do you see? And notice the texture of that picture, because from there you are going to make your self-image, so the image of yourself, you, John, Johnny, Nicholas, whoever you are, you just make the image of yourself appear in that picture at the emplacement of that role model. So basically you picture yourself in that exact same environment with the exact same behavior, the same kind of facial expression, the same kind of body movements if it is somebody who's communicating, public speaking for example. Whatever you are seeing, you are going to picture yourself exactly in the same kind of behavior, the same body posture, body language, everything the same. And once you can see yourself acting with that much more passion, creativity, commitment, all of those resources, then you are going to get inside again. Get inside that version of yourself, that new version of yourself with the added resources from the model you have selected in your mind. You get inside that image and notice, what do you feel when you are inside that image? Usually those perceptual positions exercise work in two steps. First, you use the auditory and visual to notice from a distance what does it look like. Then you associate fully in the first position. You become that role model or like that advanced version of yourself in the moment. And then you connect to the kinesthetics. What do you feel at that moment? That is how you clarify, okay, what I feel the most, or like what I notice in my head the most at that moment is this. And that is the only thing you need to focus on when you want to develop the level of skills or the level of commitment of that one person who's way more dedicated into their career than you currently are. And with all of those techniques, you can develop a much more gratifying career, something that is more fulfilling, something that you can wake up every day and be motivated about naturally instead of having to force it. And you're no longer doing things just out of habit because you have been doing that for 20 years. It is easy, but you get deadly bored of it. You can choose the career you really want or adapt your life setup so that it is more fulfilling from the get-go. And if you want to figure out more about the coaching side of things, how do you become a high-level professional who is really helping others to move on in their life, you have a chapter down below, a bonus chapter of my new book, Magical Linguistics. And the chapter you find down below is not inside the book, so it is really free only for you, people watching this. And you will see in there the art of leading somebody's mind into a new phase of their life, how to heal from their trauma, how to bypass all their mental limitations through language alone, not even any hypnotic skills required. You can just, by the way you speak, make somebody reflect upon their lives in more meaningful ways than they have been used to. All of that is contained down below in that chapter. You can download it right away if you want to check it. And with that being said, I tell you thanks a lot for watching, goodbye, and see you soon in the next video.